In Venezuela, citizens commemorate the 22nd anniversary of the arrival of Commander Hugo Chavez Frias to Miraflores on April 13 of 2002 after the coup d'etat and his kidnapping. Israeli fighter jets attack for third consecutive day the Nusra camp in central Gaza Strip. And in Russia, authorities report a new Ukrainian attack on the Zaporozhye region, killing over 8 people and leaving dozens wounded. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton. I'm from teleSUR studios here in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, citizens commemorate the 22nd anniversary of the arrival of Commander Hugo Chavez Frias to Miraflores on April 13 of 2002 after the coup d'etat and his kidnapping.
After President Chavez was kidnapped on April 12, 2000 by traitorous business and military leaders, the right wing had taken control of the government palace in Miraflores, while the people were subjected to a media campaign and false news that gave an account of the supposed legality of the new coup government. It was not until April 13, when the Venezuelan people, tired of the media manipulation and abrupt control of the de facto government in the hands of the businessman Pedro Carmona Estanga, led a powerful demonstration to safeguard the constitutional order. Demonstrators denounced the kidnapping of Chavez and demanded the return of the constitutionally elected president. El Cerro Bajo, this was the name given to the popular mobilization that was strengthened after the letter from Comandante Chavez, in which he affirmed that he had not resigned. A group of soldiers loyal to the Bolivarian Revolution rescued the president, Commander Hugo Chavez, in perfect civic military union, who was kidnapped in the island of La Orchila. Amidst tears of joy, the Venezuelan people awaited the arrival of Chavez and his return to the government palace, and where he asked the sectors that opposed him to engage in dialogue and unity of the country.
El pueblo llegó a este palacio para no irse más.
The people came to this palace to never leave again. And it has been proven. Speaking of the people, I must say to you that what has happened in Venezuela in these last hours is truly unprecedented in the world. The Venezuelan people and its true soldiers, the Venezuelan people and its armed forces, those soldiers of the people have written, and these are not empty words. It is a truth, a new page, and what a great page for Venezuelan history.
Para la historia venezolana.
On April 13, 2000 to set a precedent in world and Latin American history. Never before had a people succeeded in restoring democratic order. Almost always the military were the main conspirators against democracy in Venezuela. The example was different. The coup d'etat was neutralized by the civil military unit.
In this context, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro posted the following on X. April 13, a blessed and rebellious day of a people that demanded 22 years ago the respect for democracy and sovereignty. Millions of compatriots took to the streets to rescue our commander Chavez, defeating the fascist coup d'etat of the far-right elites in perfect civil-military union. The women and men of the people restored the constitutional order with dignity, courage, and conscience. History is still alive. Every 11 has its 13. In Cuba, political and social movement met with the diplomatic mission of Venezuela to recall the importance of the role played by the island in the coup d'etat on April 2002 in that country. The meeting defended the need to preserve a historical memory of the coup d'etat against the then President Hugo Chavez and the siege of the Cuban embassy in Venezuela. They also recall important movement between the two nations and reiterate their recognition to President Nicolás Maduro for his position facing international media attacks that promote coups and violate the citizens' will. On Friday, Mexico has formally filed a complaint against the government of Ecuador before United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The complaint is prompted by the serious violations of which the Republic of Ecuador incurred in last April 5th, and it was filed by Hector Vasconcelos, Mexico ambassador to United Nations. Based on sufficient evidence and in keeping with Resolution 77/108, Mexico expects the necessary measures to be taken, and they may even take the matter before the United Nations Security Council so that such events are never repeated. Our prayers to the actual filing of the complaints. Mexico Foreign Affairs Minister made the text of the complaint public at the President's daily morning press briefing. In Ecuador, the National Court of Justice denies habeas corpus to ex-Vice President Jorge Glass, detained during the assault on the Mexican embassy in Quito. The sentence released on Friday declares that the detention was illegal and arbitrary, but rejects the defense petitions for his release. For the detention, there was no search warrant issued by a judge, which makes it illegal and arbitrary detention. The court stressed that this action was not justified by the degree of internal armed conflict declared by the government 3 months ago to confront organized crime. The arrest warrant had been issued on January 5th by the national judge Luis Rivera to guarantee Glass' appearance in new criminal process. Glass will remain in prison because he has 2 convictions, 1 to 6 years for illicit association in the Odebrecht case, and another to 8 years for aggravated bribery in the bribes of 2012 to 2016 cases. In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro keeps pushing for a health care reform. On Friday, speaking at an open town hall meeting in the city of Cartagena in the Bolívar department, President Petro urged the members of the Colombian Congress to support the health care reform. Petro said that doing so it would be a way for the legislature to get closer with the people. In his speech at the town hall meeting, Petro touched upon other issues that also pertain to health care, like the availability of sustainable sources of clean water. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us at TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Haiti, the Presidential Transition Council was installed amidst a climate of violence that the country has been experiencing in recent months. The publishing of the decree, in addition to officially establishing the newly formed body, makes effective the resignation of Ariel Henry as Prime Minister. The appointment of the head of governments is one of the first missions to be carried out by the Council, comprised of 7 members plus 2 observers, who together with the appointed Prime Minister will lead a provisional government of national unity with the aim of restoring order and democratic legitimacy. The United Nations organizations warn of record levels of hunger in Haiti as armed violence in the Caribbean nation continues. The director of the United Nations World Food Program, James Martin Bauer, explained that the organization is doing its best to feed over 170,000 people. However, he denounced that the work has been interrupted by a slowdown due to the closure of Haiti's main port and airport. In this regard, he stressed the need to immediately open the port of the capital to bring in fresh supplies and guarantee the continuity of programs. In Argentina, the latest studies that measure poverty indicate almost 60% of the citizens are below the poverty line, a problem that has worsened with the policies implemented by the President Javier Milei. Our correspondent Santiago Correa went to a soup kitchen to talk to those who suffer from this problem, but also to show us those people who give their best from the soup kitchen. Let's see.
The situation of poverty in working-class neighborhoods is on the rise, and in the absence of government aid, social organizations are taking action and seeking solutions.
La Poderosa tiene un montón de espacios comunitarios donde...
La Poderosa has a lot of community centers that have dining rooms, soup kitchens, public high school, soccer centers, women's and dissident centers, which is the fundamental thing we need in the different neighborhoods. And we also have the notice space, where all the children go to receive their school aid. At this moment, the biggest problem we are experiencing in Argentina is the food problem, and is a problem we have been fighting for a long time. But it has depended even more in this time, in this new change of government, where it stopped being visible and it stopped being important. It is really an emergency because the government does not want to take it as such. But we know that the priority and the most important thing today is this, is the food emergency we are experiencing in Argentina.
In order for this situation to be addressed as a priority, during 2023 they presented a bill to recognize women working in the territories.
Y ahora, este año...
And now, this year, we did not go out to complain about why the project was not approved. We went out to demand that at least the merchandise be sent to our community kitchens, to see that the kitchens exist. The kitchens are real. Here in all the neighborhoods, that the need of the hungry is here, that we as cooks, workers of the community spaces exist, and that we have been working a lot of hours.
A clear example of this commitment is Nelly Vargas, who for 33 years at the head of the Evita dining room has been receiving dozens of people in need of a plate of food.
I
dedicate myself to this, to organize food, to get up every day or to think at night about what I'm going to do the next day. So much so that sometimes I dream about what to cook and what to do. My dreams are in this place because I'm the one who decides the dishes. I'm like a mom who gets up, I see what's there, what I have to cook, I improvise. We are working badly because we are working with the products that they give us for tomorrow, and I made it today with a lot of difficulties.
Despite everything, she and her colleagues continue to forge ahead with the utmost determination.
Nothing is going to bring us down, because we are here with all our strength and all our will, knowing that we have to continue for those who need us. We are not going to give up, and what I tell you is what I feel, because I don't read speeches about anything. It comes from my heart because the beginning is suffering as a child, the need, not having a plate of food like the one I wanted. This is what makes this my thing. I wouldn't change it for anything. It is difficult to make ends meet, but we are still here.
This is the same scenario in each of the 44,000 soup kitchens that do not receive the necessary government support and are a postcard of the difficult situation throughout the country.
Santiago Corey, teleSUR, Argentina.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with us with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, Israeli fighter jets attacked for third consecutive day the Nuseirat camp in central Gaza Strip. Local media report that during the attacks, dozens of civilians were wounded, some of them very seriously. The occupation regime's army also renewed its artillery bombardment against a United Nations volunteer schools, which house displaced people, resulting in damage to the infrastructure. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 33,603 civilians have been killed, while over 76,214 have been injured since October of 2023. In Palestine, the Israeli forces continue to strike northern, central, and southern Gaza as conflict in the West Bank also escalates. Our correspondent Nur Harrison brings us the latest updates.
190 days of this Israeli offensive on the coastal enclave, Israel continues striking northern Gaza, middle Gaza, and southern Gaza. However, the Israeli military intensified its attacks in the Nuseirat refugee camp, which is located in middle Gaza. The Israeli warplanes targeted Ashur family home, where dozens of people were killed. The Israeli warplanes also targeted the Nassar family home, where 4 women were killed. At the same time, they launched several strikes and also land shelling on Palestinians inside the Nuseirat refugee camp. One of the media teams that were targeted is the Turkish channel TRT, where a group of journalists were injured in this attack. At the same time, now the situation is escalating in the West Bank, as since the very early hours of this morning, Israeli settlers started attacking Palestinian farms, setting farms in fire, and also throwing stones at the Palestinian cars moving in and out from Nablus and also Ramallah. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 16 Palestinians were injured in the series of settlers' attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank. Nur Harrison, teleSUR, Gaza.
Israeli settler militias attacked dozens of civilians with gunfire and set on fire several houses in the village of Duma, south of Nablus city. According to local media reports, the situation resulted in clashes between settlers and Israeli civilians who were shot with live ammunition while trying to defend themselves from the attack. A similar event was also reported in the occupied West Bank, where Israeli settler attacks left 1 dead and an indeterminate number of people wounded. These actions also coincide with the generalized operation by occupation forces. A new attack on the Zaporozhye region by the Ukrainian army has left at least 8 people dead and dozens wounded. On Saturday, local authorities report that the Ukrainian army attacked the Tokmak residential district. Among the fatalities, there were 2 children and at least another 13 people were wounded. Authorities said the wounded and their families will receive help, but the threat of a new Ukrainian attacks remains. They also said that as a result of the attacks, at least 25 houses and 9 buildings in the area no longer have gas supply. Also in Russia, several people were injured following a Ukrainian attack with Storm Shadow cruise missiles on a machine factory in the city of Lugansk. According to local authorities, the attack also hit residential areas near the factory. They said the exact number of victims and the severity of their injuries is still unknown. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories in our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.